ghost seekers and other explorers of the paranormal and supernatural. I am the Count, and I will be your guide for today's collection of scary stories and anything that is sure to chill you to your bone. Now, this is a collection of stories told by some very wonderful storytellers that we have. Each one details a different experience or legend or otherwise spooky concept, and each one involves something new. Now, everybody has some experience to tell of who came upon it. A beast sighting, a poltergeist, a monster, a ghost, or anything in between. But these stories involve all of those things. Each one is incorporated somehow into this collection that we have for you. So I say, sit back, grab your popcorn, and enjoy, because we have something for everyone in this collection. Now, our first story comes from a young schoolgirl and a story about bullies and ghosts in middle school. So sit back and enjoy our first of many spooky stories that we have waiting for you.
When I was a teacher at Brook Elementary, there was a young girl named Eudora. Now, Eudora didn't have many friends. That's why she always ate lunch with me. The kids would pick on her because of the drawings she drew. And I know I should have stopped them, but I never thought it would add up to this. These drawings, they were like no drawing any child should ever imagine. Too unsettling for some adults, even. She drew long masses with giant arms hanging off their bodies. Monsters, the kids called them. I'd never seen anything like it. One day, Eudora came to me, telling her a girl had cornered her, ripped up her drawing, and called her a freak. Now, I did anything a sensible adult would do and told the principal. Of course, he didn't believe me. Everyone in that school thought Eudora was crazy and broken. I never believed any of it. She was the sweetest girl I had ever met. Well, the next day, the girl's body was reported missing. People around here thought it had been a kidnapping, but the police said there was no traces of fingerprints. Weeks later, Eudora said she was confronted by 3 boys who had cornered her and beat her. She had come to me crying, and I know I couldn't do anything. These boys were the town sweethearts, and what was she? The broken one. So I patched her up and I sent her home early. The next day, 2 boys were reported missing, and the last one was found dead. People said it was a bear mauling, but the boy had an indent in his torso, a bite mark, too big to be done by any bear. It was terrifying. So kids, be careful what you say and do. It might just eat you alive.
That was a scary story and a good lesson to be learned there as well. Don't be a bully or the spirits will take you away to a very safe place. This is Mark, my sleep paralysis demon. He'll be accompanying me on the next few stories. Hopefully he is more equipped to handle with such spooky things than me. I'm a bit light-stomached indeed. Now, let me introduce to you our next story. It is one told by the expert on supernatural himself, the Grim Reaper. The Reaper himself is now going to tell a story of a man's demise. So, sit back and enjoy a eulogy. Another harrowing tale told by the Wraith himself. It's getting late now and ghosts will soon be about. So I must be off to tell you my story. I'll see you all in Gloomy Meadow.
I am known by many names. No doubt you've heard of me, but those who have had the displeasure of meeting me can no longer be counted among you. I am the Grim Reaper. I am Mabeth, Bill Hook, C.U. Smith, San Amarte, and Uncle Hendrik. Some simply call me Death. This is your story, and mine. Your story begins in a place long since forgotten, or perhaps never remembered. First there was nothing, a void of black, blissful silence, broken only by the beating of a distant drum in the darkness. Foolishly you flail and flounder, filled with fear at the thought of what might be lurking just beyond arm's reach, waiting to pounce, armed to the teeth with weapons you have no match for. The night closes in. Feel the pressure building in your lungs, the blood bursting through your veins. Feel the fright and turn it to fury. You are alive. Concentrate. Assume you will survive. Wood wears away wood. Rock rasps against rock. Black turns to red and orange and white as a blinding, burning ray of light strikes, sparks ignited in the gloom and chaos. The darkness retreats, limping like a startled, wounded animal, yellow to gray to black. You are alive. And now something else has come to life, billions of light years away, far across the cosmic gaps in the poorly quilted fabric of reality. You are born, and it turns its head towards you, like the northbound needle of compass. Nostrils flared, inhaling your scent in the manner of a starving wolf, bound to you as a vulture bound to a corpse. As you begin your journey, it too begins a journey of its own towards you, never faster, never slower. You cannot run, nor can you hide. Wherever you go, whatever you do, it will follow. Take precautions if you wish, take them all or take none. It will not make a difference. You will run. It will walk. You will rest. It will not. When eventually you linger in the same place too long, sit too still, sleep too deep, and the emboldened darkness creeps back in, then it will find you. Too late you'll rise to go, only to notice the shadows have grown larger, and your own shadow will be swallowed up in the fanged maw of a great and terribly ancient beast. The light will fade away, then disappear. Your life will then be over.
Welcome to Gloomy Meadow, a town long gone that now holds more spirits than people. Gloomy Meadow dates all the way back to 1691, when the first settlers met their demise. And only until long after was it truly realized what terrible curse the town held. I will now recount to you some selected tales of demises and deaths from the town's history that still echo throughout the forest to this day. The first, Daniel Weatherby, an ambitious settler who thought taking these lands for his town would be easy, though a pack of angry wolves disagreed.
I need help. I need help. Fuck, you beast.
Paul was only just a start, as pretty soon one Sarah Hutchinson met the same fate. Similar, perhaps, when overflow of the Salem witch trials spread to Gloomy Meadow, and she was accused of witchcraft and hung. Some say that you can still hear the struggles and outcries of the townsfolk all throughout the town and the surrounding woods to this very day.
This is what happens
to those who practice witchcraft in my town. Later, the town ran into other issues when a famine struck, causing a lot of unrest. Some people, angry townsfolk, took up arms against their mayor, and the following engagement caused a few more demises to the town's running tally.
What's all these start-down-net-tools? I am the mayor of the must stop them.
The townsfolk thought that after the rebellion, that was it for everything. However, it would get worse when a terrible pestilence, disease, swept through the settlement, and, although unexplainable, is still remembered quite fondly by any of those who made it out of the town while they still could.
This one's got a few days. Let me see the one in the Henry.
The townspeople thought their luck was finally getting good, as they had at least a few decades of little incident, but it was soon made much worse when poor James Potter knocked over a lantern while he was sleeping, causing nearly half the town to burn down. You can still hear the townsfolk trying, in vain, to put out the raging blaze. With only half the houses they had before, when winter struck, many townsfolk were without proper shelter, using only makeshift tents. Some eternally shiver in what remains of the village. Others perhaps manage to survive the last terrible season that the town would endure. The townsfolk decided they had to leave. So, the bad luck and curse of the town had to give one last good hurrah. One Paul Walker, while trying to get away with the rest of the townsfolk, was trampled by a rogue wagon. And that was the last death to come out of the cursed Gloomy Meadow. After that, the town was empty. All the townsfolk had left. Now, it still sits empty, inhabited only by spirits. Gloomy Meadow is a ghost town. Anyway, the night grows deep, and the spirits, in even greater numbers, will soon be upon me, so I must take my leave. I'm not fitted for this sort of spooky time. Instead, I will pass you off to a good crypt keeper. He is more suited to continue on the stories, but I warn you, if you are the faint of heart like me, you might want to turn back now.
So, the old cat had to go, did he? I'm not surprised. He's always been a bit unreliable. I should know. I'm always cleaning up after him. I'm the estate's groundskeeper. Now, I will give you one warning. The Count and I do things a bit differently. So, the stories that are to follow are not for the faint of heart. Continue watching at your own risk. One thing we can take solace in is our friends, right? Someone's arm to grip when you get scared. Someone to drag you scary movies with you. They never do anything to harm you. Well, that is until they stab you in the back. You never know who's listening, so watch your P's and Q's. Don't believe me? Well, you better listen closely to this next story. Might be more cautionary than you'd think.
So just stand there, don't worry, no one's gonna see us. Just relax, just get the picture.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. Perfect. What do you think about this caption? Fly high, angel, I miss you.
Yeah, I guess, but maybe we should just hurry it up.
You're right. Oh, wait, maybe you can pinch me then so it looks like I'm actually crying.
Yeah, or you could just post what you already have.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think you pinching me could even make me cry over her.
Okay, Danielle, seriously, you have to stop. This isn't even funny anymore.
Oh my god, it's not my fault that she choked. She should have at least learned how to chew her own food.
Oh my gosh, listen, I know you two didn't get along, but these petty arguments aren't going to get you anywhere. She's gone. No one's here to pick fights with you anymore.
Me? Pick fights? She's the one that went around spreading all those rumors and causing everyone else pain. Okay, it's not my fault. And frankly, I should be thanking her for the fact that she's gone. She's the one that was hurting me, and my life has been way easier since she's gone, okay? And don't you dare pretend like yours hasn't been.
Whoa, did you hear that?
What? Kelly? Kelly, what? Wait. What? Kelly, where are you? Seriously. Look, I'm sorry about the video and all that, but where are you? Kelly, this isn't funny anymore. Just come back. What? Ow, what? Wait, what?
I see you. Come here. It's all your fault.
A walk in the woods always does you some good, don't it? Listen to the birds sing, get some fresh air in the lungs. Of course, it's a whole other animal at night, isn't it? Every crack, every creak makes it jump out your skin. Of course, it's not true, is it? They're just little creatures. Little birds and little squirrels that just scurry along. But what if it's not? What if there really is something out there? Watching, waiting for you to let your guard down so it can strike. Of course, that's just a story. A ghost story we tell around the campfire. Some paranoia to keep you up at night. There's no truth behind it, right? Let's go on to our next story. The show must go on and I need to get out of these woods.
Okay, so I'm filming this because I'm starting to believe this is actually real, and I just need a recording to make sure that I'm not going crazy or forgetting anything. So yeah, let's just start from the beginning. So I've never been scared of scary stuff, scary stories, none of that, because I knew it wasn't real, it was fake. But I'm starting to believe that this is actually real, so okay. It started when I was hiking. And you know that feeling you get when someone's staring at you and you look behind you and there's someone staring at you? It felt like that. and there was nothing there when I looked behind me, just the trail and some trees. And I got home, and I still felt uneasy, like something was watching me from outside my house. But then I saw it. It was a couple weeks later. It is the only way I can describe it. It was big and black and had so many eyes. I've never seen something with that many eyes. It jumped in front of my car, kind of like a deer would. But it was not a deer. It was a lot scarier than a deer. And I tried to brush it off. You know, it was dark, I was tired. There's a lot of stuff that you can push off when it's in the dark and you're tired. But then I kept seeing it. You know, in alleyways, under stairs, in dark places. It had a lot of eyes. Teeth, kind of like broken glass. I don't know why it wanted me in particular. I only saw it when I was alone, so obviously it wanted me. And the only place I felt safe was home, but even then I couldn't sleep. It'd tap on my window at night, and I stopped sleeping after that. But then it just went away. The tapping, me seeing it, it all went away. And I started to relax. I started sleeping at night. I started doing better at my job. It was great. And then it came back. And I didn't feel that safe anymore. It was in my house this time. I don't know how it got in there, but it was in my house. It was in the guest room when I was trying to get some sheets. And I screamed. I think anyone else would scream in that situation. And then I ran. And now I'm here. Scared. In the woods again. I need to go. I'll keep you updated if I'm still alive.
Right then, how we doing? Bit uneasy? Shaken? I tell you, anytime I'm uneasy, I just have a bit of home-cooked comfort food. Butter, sugar, flour, nothing makes it feel better, does it? And nothing can ruin that. Right? Well, let's go to our next story. The story of a sweet girl in a small town. Doesn't seem like she belongs in this kind of thing, does it? Well, let's determine that for ourselves, shall we?
Was a lovely young woman. She was always kind and caring to everyone she came across. She was known amongst the town people as one you could go to if you needed comforting or a good old laugh. Seeing that Annalie never really left her small town, everyone knew her and she knew everyone. She knew the mailman, every resident on her street, and even the teachers at the local elementary school. In her early years, she did many odd jobs around the town, everything from cashiering at the local market, babysitting, gardening, even helping out with the local Girl Scout troop. But nowadays, after she's gotten married, she's become more of a housewife type, almost always cleaning their home or running errands. Her husband, James Malshid, was, in comparison, the polar opposite of his new wife. He was cold and very rudely blunt to the people around him, but since he had an odd way with people, they always found it charming. The couple's life together was just like any other stereotypical good marriage. They cared for each other, going out of their way to do little things they knew that would make the other smile. Flowers, new sheets on the bed, or a fresh batch of iced tea in the fridge could brighten up the day. To everyone and themselves, they were enjoying their lives together. It stayed like that for over 5 years. They had 2 young children together, and James had become one of the tops at his law firm. For them it was going great. They were the ideal of everyone around them. Until one day, James just didn't come home from work. At first, Annalie thought it was just another late night at the office, but there was no call letting her know. Worried for the worst, she filed him as a missing person as soon as she could. Teams searched for months, finding virtually nothing. No clothes, no personal belongings, nothing except for a scent which stopped in the middle of the woods outside a gas station James often frequented. Fearing for the worst after a year of nothing coming out of their efforts to find him, Annalie and James's parents put together a ceremony to honor his memory and celebrate his life. It was not to mourn, but to celebrate the loving life James had. Everyone which had ever known James was there, and the large crowd coming, Annalie had prepared a whole buffet of her late husband's favorite food, one of which was pulled pork sandwiches. The sandwiches were devoured, and all found them to be amazing and had that unique taste of which was always found in Annalie's cooking. The party went on, everyone enjoying themselves, eating, drinking, and dancing the hours away, all in the memory of their lost one. As Mary, James's and Annalie's youngest daughter, was eating, she found a small part of bone in her bite. She showed it to her mother, asking her what it was, and with a voice just like honey, Annalie said, "Oh, sweetie, it's your father." Mary giggled and her mother followed. Anything odd was always their father, just to help keep the memory of him going. Mary continued eating like everyone else at the tables, all having the memory of James going into them, where in 3 hours their stomachs would digest the memory and discard the waste, just like Annalie did.
Oh, you come back, have you? What, not scary enough for you? That's all right. I got plenty of stories for you. Things that go bump in the night. Something to give you a little fright. I tell you, you're driving me mad. With you coming around all the time, the only time I'll be able to rest is when I'm 6 feet under. You want a story? We'll give you a story. We'll see if you come back from this one. Story of madness, family, and all those things that bug us.
You start recording? Okay, interview 13. Convicted murder, Franny Brandt. Accused of murdering Suzanne Brandt. The relationship, sister.
I didn't do it. They told me I did it, but I know better. Franny, stupid. Make it quick or they'll keep you in here for good. Stupid. I told you. I was out with the bugs, watching them scuttle across the ground over my feet. I was playing with them. They're fun to play with because they keep the voices quiet. When I'm not with the bugs, I hear voices. People laughing at me, but I can't see anyone. They just keep laughing and laughing. Stop! Did you know a beetle only lives for a day before they die? I think that's fascinating just because of Franny, stupid. Finish the story alone. Lock you up for good. The voices were so loud that day. I couldn't make them stop. They kept telling me things that I had to remember. Never trust anyone. Anyone! They were telling me things that I didn't want to hear. I had to make them stop. So I was gonna make them stop. My sister, she likes to play with bugs too. But she also likes to say the same things the voices do. That I'm stupid, dumb, crazy. She makes the voices so loud. So I had to make them stop. Bugs really are so cool. It takes them about 2 to 3 weeks to decompose human flesh. Mother called me in for dinner. Asked me where my sister was. I told her I had to make the voices stop. That the bugs were taking care of her. Next thing you know, I'm in here. But I didn't do anything wrong. The voices told me to. Shh. Listen. The voices. They're gone. Little baby sister, thought she made it clear. Little did she know that her death was very near. She came to make fun of me. The fates made a tug. Now she's in the dirt, playing with the bugs.
How's about we get into a story about your dreams? They're nice little places, aren't they? Little safe places, far away from the things we fear. Until someone twists that right on its head. And you too may wish you were dead. Let's join my dearest Jolene for a story sure to make you scream.
About 3 years ago, I had a dream. And it's stuck with me ever since. Like, it's attached to me. It's disgusting how vivid it was. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in this chair in front of the fire, reading my book like I do every night. But in my dream, I wasn't in my body. I was this figment of space, just watching myself, almost like a movie. But I was reading my book, like I do, and there was a knock at the door. So naturally I got up and I went to check who it was, who was knocking at that hour of the night. I opened the door and there's no one there. I look everywhere, not a soul in sight. So I turn on the outside light and I go back to reading, because what else could I do? But me, I could see this man on the outside of the house, walking around to the back door. And he slid open the slider without me hearing, walked up behind me, and I was just watching. I could not do anything about it. I was watching what was going to be my own death. And he came up behind me with a cloth, and he gagged me, and I looked so scared. He said something in my ear that I can't quite remember, but I stopped struggling. I got up and he tied my hands, and I fought back. So he pushed me down onto the fireplace, onto the hot bricks, and I could almost feel the texture of the heat. I feel like I can remember, but he grabbed a chunk of my hair
and he pulled it back, and he went to slam it against the hot glass, and then I woke up. I guess that's how it usually is, though. You wake up before you die in your dream, because you haven't died, so you can't dream it. I think what's really frightening about the whole experience was that night I know I didn't fall asleep in my chair. And that's where I woke up. My book open in my lap, and the outdoor light's still on.
What, are you back again? Can't get rid of you, can I? What, you need me when you're a little scared? Need some comfort? It's like I'm the Pied Piper, ain't it? Imagine me with a little flute. He always scared me a bit, you know, the Pied Piper. Imagine what he could do. What power he holds. I mean, sure, he used it on rats, but there's so much more he could do with it. Well, we must be getting on to the next story. See if you can keep up.
I would like to tell you of my first and last encounter with the thing I refer to as the Piper. I've never been the type to get in trouble. Even at 22, I've never been the one to stay out as late as I did that first night. I live alone in an apartment in a comparatively safe city in an area that's mostly old folks and families. Some friends had invited me to dinner that had some live music, and they knew I was an enthusiast, but getting me had taken a lot of convincing as the music started at 11 and was on the far side of the city from where I lived. Eventually they broke me down, of course, but I was still uneasy, a feeling that never quite left me throughout the evening, although I did end up having a pretty nice night. That is until I started to head home. As I walked, I saw a man ahead of me on the street. He was clearly drunk, and he swayed as he clutched the sign for the bus stop. I had just started to move around him when he spoke. Well, not spoke. He started singing this old, odd-sounding lullaby. I couldn't make out the words, but the song was clearly meant to be comforting, so I have no good explanation for the shock of fear that ran through my body. Maybe it was just that the song was being sung by this strange man on the street late at night, or maybe it was the man himself, whose neck suddenly seemed just a bit too long, whose arms seemed to bend at just a slightly wrong angle. Suddenly he stopped, he looked at me, smiled with teeth that looked too sharp, and said, "Olaf, don't worry. Soon you'll hear it too." I didn't stop to think what the hell this guy meant by that. I immediately turned down a side street and caught a cab down the way. I thought I was safe. I told the driver my street address, and he immediately launched into some story about, I think it was his little girl's play. I'm not sure. His voice was pretty calming, though, so I mostly just zoned out. However, we were only about a minute from my street when all of a sudden the man stopped his ramblings. I looked up, slightly surprised, and met his gaze in the rearview mirror. I can't tell you exactly what was wrong with it, his face. Only that it looked somehow too sharp as he spoke. Can you hear it yet? I shook my head as he pulled up a few doors down from my apartment's entrance. That's okay. He's coming to play it for you. I threw what was probably too much cash on my seat and bolted out of that cab. When I turned around and looked if the driver had followed me out, he just smiled at me, looking as normal as he did when I first saw him, and told me goodnight. I walked baffled along the dark street back towards the door to my apartment. The notes started so far off that I didn't even notice them at first, but they still reached me. As I walked, I started to get an uncomfortable feeling in my hands. When I finally stopped in front of my door, I looked down to see what was wrong, but I never had the chance to find out. Because just then I heard the song truly begin, and I started to itch. Like something small and sharp was squirming just under my skin,
moving along my hands and wrists as I scratched at it in detached horror. I cast my gaze around wildly, looking for the source of the music. My eyes fell on the figure of a man holding a set of pipes across the street. He was cast completely in shadow, but I saw from his frame that he was not either of the strangers I had previously met that night, and somehow that made that terror far worse, because now there was a new man who also looked off, and I didn't know what to do, staring into the distant shadowed face of something I knew then was, if not anything else, distinctly not human. The form was too blurred even for the light, and the arms that held the pipes to his lips too long, the joints too sharp, and in some cases too numerous. The itch spread up my arms and became a painful burn as whatever was under my skin wriggled up and spread out. I didn't want to, but my nails only scratched harder at my flesh, and I started to feel like I was going to throw up. Bile rose up my throat. I opened my mouth to try to suck in a breath when the music changed tune. I gagged and gasped as the acid and alcohol of that night filled my lungs. I fell to the ground. I tried to flip over to try to breathe. My limbs bent painfully in every other way than what I was asking them to. I felt like a puppet as I convulsed on the pavement, slowly suffocating while the notes played across the street. And that painful itch writhed and dragged under the skin of my throat. I couldn't get any air. I couldn't cough. The only thing I could do was close my eyes. So I did. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital. My neighbor had seen me lying there and called an ambulance. I told them I didn't remember what happened. They blamed it on the alcohol. The next few weeks after that were a blur. I had broken my arm and a few fingers that night and was learning to get out of that. I was discharged from the hospital, went home. Friends visited, family called. I must have gotten out and gotten groceries because the fridge was always full, but then again, I can't remember eating. It was all normal. Except for the itch. And the song. I heard it all the time now. I freaked the hell out of a few nurses when I apparently started screaming about the piper, the not man, who played a tune and stole my body away from me. They gave me drugs to sleep, apparently. And I described it in such detail that they were nearly convinced to keep me on for more testing. I went on like that, though, faking security for my loved ones and blasting noise into my ears at all hours and scratching my skin raw until one night, maybe a month after I first met the piper, I was home alone, watching a show I didn't care for at full volume when I saw him again. The same spot as before, looking up at me from outside my window. I felt a spike of fear and anger course through me, and I froze. He raised his pipes to his lips, and I was up and running halfway across the room before I could even think, though I knew in my heart that running would do no good. The song exploded in my head and grew so loud I clutched at my ears in pain. His notes slithered under my skin, and I sank to my knees with a silent cry. Then his music began to tug at the strings he had attached to my wrists, and my hands bent back against my will. I choked on my own screams as through the swelling of the music, the sound of splintering bone reached my ears. The agony when it hit turned my stomach, and I crashed sideways against a wall, staring hopelessly at the tiled floor. And all of a sudden, it stopped. All of it. The music cut out, the itch ceased. I felt control spreading back into my body. The only thing that stayed was the blinding pain in my wrists, of course, but even with that sharp sensation fogging my mind more by the second, I felt better than I had in a month. And I knew I had outlasted him. I had beat that piper at his own goddamn hellish game. I won.
Well, how was that night of fright, kiddos? You scared yet? No, you're not. All right, that's fine. But it's only fair if I could tell a story right. One dark night, the sun shone bright, and two dead boys got up to fight. I'm just playing with you. Could you imagine if my horrifying little story was just an English project? Now, you want a story? I'll give you a story. One dark night, the moon shone bright, and all you could hear were tales of fright. And as your face, drained of colour, turned to find the comfort of mother, you found she was missing, as was brother. And as you turned to seek her out, you come to find without a doubt that mother, it would seem, is not about. So you search and you look and you desperately flail, and turning the corner you let out a wail, for there is your mother, withered and pale. And as you stand and take in her spirit, she leans in to whisper, though you must strain to hear it. They came, my child, they came in processions, and with death it seems they have their obsessions. And that's when you see them in hordes and masses, as you're stuck in your spot as one of the passes. And as you watch the slim frame go by, you see her face, you'll see her when you die. And stuck in your spot, you take in a sight, something only seen in the dead of night. For they started to move in circles and trains, and all you could hear were their screams of pain. And then, to your horror and realization, you turn and take in a strange creation, as it was human in all of its frame, except for a few features quite strange. For out of its head 2 horns arise, and dark as the night turned its eyes. And as you turn to run away, it seems as though your feet are stuck in mud. And that's when you hear it, as the creature lets out a howl that could curdle blood. And as the creature approaches, baring its fangs, there's fear in your chest as your heart starts to pang. What happens now to the boy in the mud? Just ask the creature, its hands covered in blood. And how do I know that the story is true? Well, what do these horns look like to you?